So if you really want this in a very succinct way, you know, if there is anything that you're going to remember from this talk, you should remember those three words: stability, prosperity, and democracy. I told you that the old Europe was anything but stable. So the new, added to the old continent, was precisely stability. Stability simply means no wars, no conflict. Whatever the problem is, we can solve it by talking to each other. And if we do, we will most likely find a solution. It could not be tomorrow, but we can find it the day after or the day after. So stability is at the foundation of the changes. Well, with stability comes prosperity. Europe was not only unstable, Europe was not only barbaric, but also Europe was poor. And the reason for the poverty were, of course, the conflicts. This is how it worked. A country was developing its economy, accumulating some wealth that was used on the military, that was used to go to another war. Then when they went to war, win or lose, the economy was again in ruins, and they had to do it again, starting again with rebuilding, accumulating, putting into the army, going to another war, and starting the whole. It was like a vicious circle. So stability, no conflict, allowed the Europeans to become the wealthy continent, and it is the richest part of the world, to become wealthy, simply by not spending on the military and by not destroying each other's property and economies. The Europeans took the time to rebuild the economy from the ruins of the Second World War, and this time actually make it good for the Europeans themselves. And that is the prosperity part. And of course, if you have stability and prosperity, to seal the deal, so to speak, to make it sure that indeed Europe is not going to slip back to the old Europe, or Europe of conflicts, well, you have to have a democratic system. So Europe is a continent that, with a couple of exceptions, and they are outside of the process of integration, is a Europe of democracies. And that by itself is a tremendous, tremendous change. Because between the wars, the first and the second, Europe only had a very few functioning democracies. You could count them with your one hand. Now, it's the other way around. The non-democracies can be counted with your one hand, can be counted with your one hand. So, ladies and gentlemen, stability, prosperity, and democracy, these are the three words that you should remember if you think about the essence of the changes that have been happening in the old continent that is becoming also a new one. Well, and that is that you will find the three words, those words, in many documents of the European Union, which is the construction of the process of cooperation and integration. And this is just an example. Look at the year 2001. Soon, the European Union will become bigger. But this is a quote from this particular declaration, Laeken Declaration. And look what it says, that for centuries, the Europeans were waging wars. And that had a terrible effect on Europe, and on Europe inside and Europe outside its position in the world. So that brought eventually a growing realization that only peace could make a significant change to Europe, to make it strong, unified, and stable, prosperous, and democratic. Hence, to banish the demons of the past, a start was made with a coal and steel community, which is actually the predecessor of the European Union. This is the shortest quote I could find that in such a short, succinct way gives you the essence of the old Europe and therefore a direction for the new one.